All right, good morning, everybody. My name is Paul Rieckhoff. I'm the CEO and founder of Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America. I'm also a 9/11 first responder. I served in Iraq and helped found IAVA here in New York City when I got home from a tour in Baghdad. I wish we didn't have to be here today. We really shouldn't have to make veterans issues a priority for New York City. Not far from here is Ground Zero. That was when the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan began for many of us. But we're coming home to a city that doesn't appreciate that veterans should be a priority. We put forward some pretty straightforward recommendations, and we've asked for an audience with the mayor, but we've been denied. And that's unfortunate, because New York City can be the #1 city in America for our veterans. Over 200,000 veterans live here in New York City, and they are leaders, they are a resource, they are civic assets, but they're not a charity, they're an investment, and New York City needs to invest in them. So we've called on the mayor to show real leadership. Number one, we've asked him to support our legislation to create a Department of Veterans Affairs. That's a reasonable response to serve 200,000 people in the greatest city in the world. But unfortunately, the mayor has opposed that. Councilman Ulrich has stepped up. We've got over 40 co-sponsors here at City Hall, and we hope the mayor will get behind us after today and support that legislation. We also need a real budget. Right now, we only spend about $600,000 in New York City on veterans. A budget of over $70 billion. And we only spend $600,000. And compare that to Boston, that spends over $5 million. That breaks down to about the same amount that it would cost for a cup of coffee for each veteran in New York City. We should spend more than a cup of coffee on the people who defend our freedom and continue to serve right now. As we stand here and ask for our mayor to step up and show us support, our brothers and sisters are fighting and dying in Iraq and Afghanistan. That shouldn't be the way. Finally, we need to see the mayor's plan. We're military folks. We appreciate planning. And the mayor has promised us a plan for over a year. Just last week, this month rather, the Commissioner Sutton was on New York One. She said their plan will be coming this fall. This fall. That means our veterans have to wait almost 2 years from the time the mayor was elected to hear about his plan to support us and our families. This is common sense. It's not a partisan issue, and we've seen everybody from all backgrounds, all political stripes come together to support our veterans. That's why these folks are all here. All generations, not just Iraq and Afghanistan, and many different organizations have bound together. I also just want to note this is happening in the midst of real crisis in our community. You all heard about the VA scandal. Just yesterday, national news covered another possible scandal at the VA in the Bronx. Over $50 million may have been misallocated. Beds are being closed in Brooklyn at the VA. This is happening right now. But you're not going to hear anything about that from the mayor because he's disconnected from our community. He needs to meet with us. He needs to spend time with us. And the Veterans Advisory Board last month had a new meeting, a new group and a public meeting where folks opened it up to the community. But surprisingly, this month, they've rescheduled the meeting. They said it's not going to happen this month. That's a terrible missed opportunity for the mayor and the Veterans Advisory Board to hear from folks around the city about what's concerning them. We don't want to fight. We want a mayor who steps up and leads with us, that understands the value of a veteran. And today we want to thank the public advocate for stepping up with us. She understands that our veterans are leaders here in New York City, that we've got some of the most amazing public servants in the world, and she appreciates the voices of our community. She is a true public advocate. And she understands that veterans issues are not just a veterans issue, they're a community issue. This means something to everybody. So we really appreciate your leadership and you stepping up today. And our membership across the city, over 10,000 Iraq and Afghanistan veterans, stand with the public advocate today and stand together here on the steps. So without further ado, I hand it over to our public advocate, Ms. James.
I'd like to thank the founder of Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America, Paul Rieckhoff, for standing up with me today. I also want to thank all of the veterans for their bravery and strength, protecting our freedom, for keeping our country safe. It's important that everyone know that the issue of veterans should not be an issue just on Veterans Day and Memorial Day. It should be an issue that we talk about 365 days a year. New York City is home to thousands of veterans who have served our country. They face obstacles in returning to civilian life. And that's why we need increased funding for robust, stable services that make sure veterans have the support they need. It's important that we have this press conference today because we are in the midst of formulating a budget for the city of New York. And the budget for the city of New York reflects our priorities as a city. And I know that one of the priorities that this city must have is veterans. They're deployed overseas in countries such as Iraq and Afghanistan. And these soldiers endure the most difficult conditions imaginable. And so for many veterans, the tragedies do not end when they are discharged and they're sent home to America. In some cases, they begin when they come home. Some veterans, they experience post-traumatic stress disorder. And they have a difficulty in integrating back into society. And veterans also face financial aid. And it's unfortunate and it's sad that tonight, almost 2,000 to 3,000 veterans are homeless. Their pensions, unfortunately, are not adequate to meet the needs of the rents in New York City. And the current Mayor's Office of Veteran Affairs has a budget of about $600,000 to fund 200,000 veterans. Clearly that's inadequate. And so what we are here today during the budget process, we are having budget hearings when there are discussions going on about the budget right now until we pass a budget, is to adequately fund the office and to give Commissioner Lori Sutton the tools that she needs to provide for the 200,000 veterans, beginning with providing them with housing, so that no veteran who has served us and who has stood for our freedom and the ability to defend our right to speak here today is sleeping on our streets. Now, Mayor de Blasio, I know that you care about this issue because I know that you are a child of a veteran, but we need you to act. And I know that Commissioner Lori Sutton has done all that she can, and she is committed to the cause. We must all work together to provide more substantial support for veterans. We must work together to expand the office to a full city agency that can better address the needs of our veterans. New York City must do its part to take care of the men and women who have fought for us. The veterans have protected our freedom, and we cannot abandon them. They are willing to give everything, and they have given everything, and some have made the ultimate sacrifice. And that's why we stand here today, to urge, again, that this administration step up and adequately fund this agency, make it a full agency, and that we continue to do all that we can to support the veterans of New York City. I thank you for this opportunity, and I thank all these veterans.
She's been a tremendous advocate for the entire public in the city of New York, and she's been a great advocate now for veterans, and we're grateful for your leadership and for your support. We're calling on all New Yorkers to be advocates for veterans. It doesn't matter how you feel about the war, doesn't matter who you voted for. We need your help in stepping up and demanding better support and better services for our brothers and sisters. And the mayor really has to ask himself, do you honestly think you're doing all you can do for veterans? That is the question our city is asking. Can you do more? We believe you can, and the budget is a perfect place to reflect those priorities. And we believe that the great veterans of this city deserve more than just a pittance when it comes to the city budget. Also, veterans weren't even mentioned in the city budget. Do a search, try to find the word veterans in the budget. If they're not even mentioned, how are they really a priority? I want to introduce two leaders who've been fantastic for us. First is Kristen Rouse. It's important to note that she's one of the advocates that's been raising these issues. You've seen her on New York One, but the mayor hasn't met with her either. These are the kind of folks that the mayor needs to meet with and needs to understand so that he can craft the policy and galvanize the city behind our community. So I'm proud to introduce Kristen Rouse.
Good morning. My name is Kristen Rouse. I represent the New York City Veterans Alliance. I'm an Army veteran. I served 3 tours in Afghanistan, and I live in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. I wish we didn't have to explain to Mayor de Blasio that veterans issues are progressive issues and that he should care about them. Veterans are in a unique category, but we come from all walks of life, all generations, all economic backgrounds. We are men, women, black, white, Latino, Asian, Native American, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, LGBTQ, and represent the beautiful diversity of this country and this city. Our distinction and common cause is that we raised our right hands and swore to defend the Constitution and our nation's interests, even if it meant our lives. It's something that brings us together across beliefs, party affiliations, and generations. Commissioner Sutton, a veteran herself, and for whom we have the utmost respect, has responded to our criticisms by saying we aren't getting the facts right. She stated yesterday that the fiscal year 2016 executive budget provides around $150 million across more than a dozen city agencies and programs and services that benefit veterans and their families. This was the first time the administration has named a dollar amount for veterans resources, and it is news to us. It is especially news to us because if you comb through the executive budget, as Paul mentioned on OMB's website, the only findings for veterans is that there is a slight increase from last year in MOVA staff salaries and the amount allocated for office supplies and travel reimbursements. Veterans Affairs in New York City is at least a $150 million job, and it must go beyond this as well to ensure that federal and state resources and institutions are meeting their obligations to veterans as well as the cities. We read in national news headlines and see continued problems with VA healthcare facilities in New York City. The Bronx VA is under investigation for financial fraud. The Brooklyn VA just announced it's closing a 25-bed inpatient unit and leaving patients from Staten Island, South Brooklyn, and South Queens without an accessible option for hospitalization. A commissioner and 5 staff members simply are not enough to manage Veterans Affairs for the largest city and the largest municipal government in the country. The City Council acknowledges this and stands ready to create an independent and resourced Department of Veterans Affairs for the city. The Public Advocate supports this. Why can't a progressive mayor acknowledge this and support it? We serve this country and make this city our home. We earn benefits and recognition. We carry the consequences of war with us every day. Yet we keep having to ask, Mayor de Blasio, when will you show us that veterans matter to you?
Thank you, Kristen. I also just want to note a couple of other key leaders are here. Lee Gavino, who's been a tremendous advocate for all generations, and especially for our Vietnam veterans from Staten Island. Sure.
I'll be very brief, but I'd like to say that when this administration began, we had 3 benefits counselors in the Mayor's Office of Veterans Affairs, and today we have 0. This is at a time when the State Division of Vets Affairs, which provides benefits counselors throughout the state, is at an all-time low staffing level in the 5 boroughs. They have 2 counselors for 5 boroughs. It's not enough to do a VA claim for those who need it. Veteran service organizations are also at all-time low staffing levels for their volunteers who do VA claims for veterans. Why? They're all aging out. Nobody's coming on board. To become a service officer, you must be certified to do so, trained and certified. And we lost those 3 for pennies on the dollar. The Robin Hood grant brought them to us, and we lost it because the mayor and city council did not pick up the stick. So we want to see some real changes here. Our young vets today deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And look, you don't have to take our word for it. Go to the city's veterans website right now. Try to find resources. Try to find something that can help you in need. You're going to come up empty. The resources have been dramatically reduced. Another key voice for our community is Tyreek Tulloch, Brooklyn. And I think it's important to note that our organization, IAVA, is the fastest growing organization for veterans in America. Over 40% growth last year, over 10,000 veterans across the city and the state. And we've met with the president about half a dozen times in the last year. The President of the United States has made time for our leaders and people like Tyreek. We don't understand why the mayor can't do the same. So proud to introduce my brother and a great leader for us in the veterans fight, Tyreek Tulloch.
Thank you, Paul, my fellow brothers and sisters behind me, and New York City Public Advocate, Letitia James, for being here with us. My name is Tyreek Tulloch. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. I served in the United States Marine Corps. I did 2 tours in Iraq, 03, 04, and 05. And one of the things that I learned in uniform, and something that all of us understand, is the true meaning of service to country, but we also understand the true meaning of accountability. New York is home of 9/11, but it's also home to a mayor and governor who seem more disconnected and insulated from the very veteran community that have served it well before and after that tragic day. We have a governor who, after visiting service members in Afghanistan just weeks before Election Day, only to return home with a strong recommendation from the mayor to easily veto legislation that corrected inequalities in the current military service credit law. I deployed to Iraq, my time counts. Those that deployed to Afghanistan, their time doesn't count. Mayor de Blasio thought it cost too much, citing dubious numbers. I wonder how many people across our city, our state, and our country will be surprised to know that New York City allocates just $600,000 a year in its annual budget for the Mayor's Office of Veteran Affairs, with most of it going to staff salaries. Also, half of that allocation comes from a state grant, meaning the city's cost is roughly $300,000. Recently, State Comptroller Tom DiNapoli's office released a report of the city's finances with a projected surplus of $3 billion for fiscal year 2015. The bottom line is the fact that we're not going away. Look, veterans are a very professional bunch, and we'll give our elected all the opportunities in the world to succeed or to fail. The mayor to date has chosen to ignore us and keep us at arm's length, but he can choose to change that. I remember the words of a fellow Marine that I served with after our tour in Iraq. He said to take full advantage of what's out there, because the country will quickly turn the page and you will be forgotten. Sadly, by both the mayor and governor's inaction, I believe that day is here. But we will give them all the opportunities in the world to prove me wrong, and I sincerely hope that they do. Thank you.
I also want to thank Joe Bello, who's here today, who's been a tremendous advocate for us. Joe, thank you for your leadership around here somewhere. Thank you, Joe. Finally, folks, go to IAVA.org/NYC Vets. You can learn the facts. What we're asking for is pretty straightforward. Pass the reasonable, urgent legislation proposed by Councilman Ulrich and supported by over 40 people in city government, including now our public advocate. Increase the budget to adequate levels and show us a plan. We're standing by to support you. The military, we adapt, improvise, and overcome. We shouldn't have to overcome our mayor. Our mayor should be on our side. But if he doesn't work with us, we will work around him. And we also call on the speaker to bring the legislation to the floor for a vote. Put it on the mayor's desk. And if he wants to veto legislation for veterans, then he can answer to the people in New York City for that. But we hope he won't. We hope he'll stand with us, do the right thing, and help us craft a path forward that supports our veterans and unleashes the power of their leadership on our great city. We want to again thank the public advocate for being here, and we'd be happy to take your questions. Thank you, everybody. Yes, ma'am.
Two-part question. What was the explanation you were giving for if any, for the cancellation of the meeting? And the other question is, the mayor on the proposed bill to create a separate agency, he said that he doesn't believe that every issue requires an independent agency to deal with that issue.
Sure.
He says that the agencies are all working together.
Let me deal with the second issue first. The federal government disagrees with it. That's why we have a Department of Veterans Affairs. We've learned that lesson and created the VA. Talked to folks like Max Cleland. Bob McDonnell has a pretty big challenge on his hands, and I think that our president and our country has understood that it's a social issue, it's an education issue, it's a housing issue, it's also a national security issue. If you don't take care of your veterans, folks are not going to sign up to serve. So I think the mayor is very out of step with most leadership at the city level and at the national level. He's definitely out of step with progressive leaders across the country who understand these issues, and we hope he'll reconsider. Answering your first part of your question, I'll send you the email. They basically said they were rescheduling. They wanted time, I believe, to add the new members to the VAB who have yet to be named. But that didn't stop them from having a meeting the month prior. It was the first meeting that they had public. They opened it up to the community. Plenty of people showed up. And then this month we're not having a meeting, which really, I think, clamps down on the transparency. It doesn't give new members of the VAB an opportunity to hear from the public. And it doesn't give us an opportunity to talk to you all, the media, and continue this issue going forward. We're not going away. And our coalition continues to grow. We've got tremendous support from the cops and from the firemen and from sanitation. About 30% of IAVA members work in government. So we span almost every agency and organization in this city, and we're not going away. So we hope the mayor will step up. He's here today. He can come down right now and meet with us. Last time we were here, he was in Iowa. and it seemed like he cared more about the positions of people in Iowa than he did about the veterans in the city here of New York. So appreciate your question. Appreciate you guys being here. We need you to cover this. Veterans issues don't often get covered. They're not sexy, but these folks deserve it, and our issues deserve it. Sir.
I guess the public advocate, you know, what do you make of this being yet another sort of issue that's opposed by the mayor that has been denied a floor vote in the city council?
It's an issue that you need to ask the speaker of the city council. I really can't explain why a vote which has a majority of members of the city council can't be defeated.
And you know, July 4th is coming up pretty soon. We missed an opportunity with Memorial Day. We called on the mayor to meet with this group and others. He didn't do that. Instead, he had a photo op with folks who were in town from Fleet Week. Run the names of the folks that he met with. Most of them are probably now on a ship somewhere. They don't live in New York City. They're not representatives of the organizations that are working every day in this city to help veterans. Another thing that I just want to put out, IAVA is standing by for veterans in need of help. Our rapid response referral program has helped thousands of veterans across the city. If you go to iava.org/RRRP, go to our website, you will get a response within 24 to 48 hours. A licensed clinical social worker or a master social worker level person will get back to you, and we can help you with your issues, including helping you navigate the VA and navigating city resources. If the city won't have your back, we will.
I also want to thank Councilmember Eric Ulrich for his absence, for all the help that he has given veterans and for his advocacy on the city council.
We sat down with Councilman Ulrich last fall. At the same time, we sat down with Commissioner Sutton, and we presented a very thoughtful plan that you can find on our website that's been up for a long time. It's a blueprint for what this city can do. Councilman Ulrich took it and ran with it and created legislation and heard our community has been moving forward. The mayor's done the opposite. So the plan is there. We just need a leadership. So I want to thank you all for coming out, especially on a hot day. I know it's warm, but as we're always reminded, it's a lot cooler than it is in Iraq and Afghanistan right now. And those are the folks that we're here to represent. We appreciate you coming out. We hope you'll stay on top of these issues. And thank you again to Public Advocate. Thank you very much.